We are going to have the toppers talk. You know, sometimes we need inspiration in our life. We want to hear from people who have succeeded rather than, though we have faculties, good faculties to teach us what to do and what not to do. Only like one person like who has crossed the whole journey, and if he comes and tells whatever he tells, okay, I'll follow that. We have this not just here in civil services, anywhere, in any part of the life. We always look forward to someone who has already crossed the path. So here, it's like actually like a team coach, you know, in a game. When we have a game, we always wanted a pep talk from a coach. Okay, when you need energy, when he says something, he's not going to press your legs or do anything, give you a juice in your hand. No, he's just going to give you a pep talk. He's just going to talk. Maybe he shares his experience, or he might tell you what to do, what not to do. Concentrate on few things, not to do few things. So that would do for you to go the rest 1.5 hours of very important game. So we have someone like that today with us, rank 57, Anunaya Jha. So we welcome you, sir, to share your experience with Vision IAS students.
Thank you, Pratibha, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, hi, how are you guys feeling? आप लोग सब फ्रेश हैं, सब लोग अभी शुरुआत कर रहे हैं सिविल सर्विस की एग्जामिनेशन की तैयारी में, या कुछ टाइम से are you guys preparing? It's 1 year. Okay. So we have someone with 1 year. Otherwise, everyone is starting from scratch. आप भी इधर आ जाइए भाई साहब. Please come here. Right, good. So ठीक है, that's very good, because आप लोग जहाँ wherever you guys are right now, I started from this very place. Well, not vision, but this very moment I started my civil services experience, the journey in 2013, somewhere around January. So I graduated from IIT Roorkee in 2012. Engineering was also a chance of fate, as luck would have it that I would choose engineering. I never liked sciences. You know, I did not like science. And bhai, theek hai, 11th, 12th mein what would you do? Chalo science lete hain, let's go ahead with it. So I took science and then did not like it, did not study it in the first year or so, didn't land up anywhere in the first year. I mean, I did get admission in DC, but that was not in a good branch. Then I realized that, okay, if we have gone ahead in this path, which is sciences, let's do the best in it, right? So what is the best? Chalo JEE dete hain. Let's take the joint entrance examination, which is the IIT entrance examination. Took it, was extremely lucky to have landed up in IIT Roorkee with electrical engineering. Did 4 years of that, didn't learn anything. Tried to be a part of the rat race to get ahead of people. I interned with a consulting company called Accenture, if you've heard of it. So I was with Accenture for a brief bit. I was doing public service consulting there, so which is essentially working with government departments, modernization of, so I was working with Karnataka police. Anyone from Karnataka here? Okay, so I was working with the Karnataka police in their technology upgradation, so on and so forth, and didn't like it, because consulting, according to me, is taking your solution, repackaging it and giving back to you in a better form. So although it's fun, it's a lot of money, it's great work, it's fun, but not for me. So then the following year, I kind of worked with an investment bank in Barclays Capital in Singapore. Great people, great city, everything, but the job was, again, you know, aisa hota hai na, sometimes you just become a part of an entire picture. You're not the picture, if you know what I mean. So I was being a part of the entire picture, equally important part, because agar ek painting se, Mona Lisa se agar aap uski smile hata dijiye, to fir Mona Lisa mein bacha kya, right? So I was a part of the picture, but I wanted to be the Mona Lisa, right? So then I came back to India. I worked with the World Bank. World Bank, I was a short-term consultant for about 6 months. This was after I graduated in 2012. So 2012, June to December, I was working with the World Bank. And that is when I realized that I should take the civil services examination. So in the World Bank, we had a project, a research project that we were doing, and we were interacting. So it was a Ministry of Environment and Forest ka pet project. So I'm sure some of you or most of you would have heard of something called carbon credits, right? So which is essentially that if you are emitting a lot of carbon and you want to not be penalized for it, you can buy credits and set off your excess pollution. So that carbon credits is deeply established in the world and all of that. We were working on something called emissions trading, an emissions credit. Similar to carbon trading, you have ash, you have suspended particulate matter, SPM, you have soot. And all these are also pollutants which need to be traded in order to get a cap. So I was working on that project and I was liaising with the Ministry of Environment and Forest. That is when I realized the immense power that a bureaucrat has in terms of not just कि डीएम की ये पावर होती है कि कलेक्टर ये कर लेता है और डीएम ये कर लेता है और एसपी वो कर लेता है, बट इवन इन पॉलिसी रोल्स. So Ministry of Environment and Forest is essentially a policy ministry, right? It makes policies, national ambient air quality standards. That's a policy, right? Emissions trading, it's a policy. So these things are so diverse, they are so comprehensive that only a bureaucrat can actually affect such changes, right? So that is when I got my first spark that I should start preparing for the civil services. So I quit my job at the World Bank. 2013 January I started. I took the exam in 2013. I cleared the exam in 2013. I'm presently in the revenue service. I'm in the income tax. I had a rank of 145 last year. And then I took the exam again. And I am rank 57 this time. So that in long is my story for the civil services examination till now, right? Now since most of you are new to this entire examination system, आप सबको पता होगा that the pattern has changed immensely. पहले 2 optionals होते थे, अब एक ही optional है. पहले 2 GS papers होते थे, now you have 4 GS papers with a new addition of something called ethics, right? Ethics, integrity and aptitude, right? Now coming to the last word first, aptitude. The CSAT was already testing the aptitude of students, right? CSAT is Civil Services Aptitude Test. Now why do you think that there was a need to have an ethics, integrity and aptitude paper? See, if I'm getting clear to everyone, there's already a Civil Services Aptitude Test in the prelims, right? Which has now been made, yeah, so it's just mean qualifying. But there is an ethics, integrity and aptitude paper also. Why are there 2 different papers on aptitude? I just want any guess why there are 2 aptitude papers.
To know your psychology, where you stand,
okay,
how your decisions,
okay,
in front of you,
right,
you react personally,
right.
What your personal.
So this is what you're talking about, the ethics paper. No, that's fair. That's a fair analysis. But why is there an aptitude paper in prelims then? And why are the 2 aptitude papers so different? एक में maths, DI, logical reasoning, that is CSAT paper 1. I mean CSAT in prelims, right? Whereas the other, as I said, is psychometric analysis, situational studies. Why do you think both are equally important?
So in first case, at least we must check the ability of mental as well.
Okay.
Arithmetical analysis.
Right.
Obviously, when in administration, nothing will be only theoretical. We will also be dealing with the numbers also.
Right.
So if we can't plus minus, average and all that,
right,
we can't even do analytical reasoning.
Right.
So what's the fun of being an administrator?
Right. But to that point, I completely take his point. But to that point, I can also say that someone who has left maths after class 10th may not be very comfortable with averages and permutation and combination and so on and so forth, the topics that are there in CSAT. First of all, let me just tell you that both the aptitude papers are not very divergent. Both are testing your logical reasoning, whether you can logically reason your answers or not. Paper 1, I mean in prelims, in CSAT, the paper is more, the answer is in front of you, right? The answer is in front of you in one of those options. So you just have to work it out mentally and do it. In mains, in ethics, the answer is not in front of you, right? You have to make your own answer. So the only difference between the 2 aptitude papers is that in the second aptitude paper, you have to logically reason your answer and get an answer. Whereas in the first prelims paper, it's already in front of you, right? Good. Now, as all of you know, CSAT has been made qualifying, right? Now that gives us 2 options in the coming years. One, they will make the GS, the general studies paper and prelims extremely tough. Okay, and by extremely tough I mean extremely vague. कहीं से भी क्वेश्चन उठा के डाल देंगे. टफ देखो भाई, रैटक्लिफ कमीशन क्या था, मैकमोहन लाइन क्या है. नाउ दीज थिंग्स आर वेरी वेरी फैक्चुअल, राइट? बट इफ आई स्टार्ट मेकिंग इट वेरी वेग, टफनेस बढ़ जाता है, राइट? सो वन alternative for UPSC is that they make the general studies paper very tough. The other is they maintain the standard of GS but increase the standard of CSAT कि 66 marks लाना भी मुश्किल हो जाए. Which is to say that जो arts background से हैं, जो humanities background से हैं, या जो even science background से वो not very confident in maths, उनके लिए वो maths का question tough कर देंगे. जिनको इंग्लिश में comprehension, I had a lot of problems in my answers of comprehensions and UPSC's answers of comprehensions. I used to think my answer is correct, UPSC used to give another answer key, right? वैसे लोगों के लिए वो comprehension भी गड़बड़ कर सकते हैं. But my guess is that they are going to make the GS paper tougher. Tougher means more vague, right? What is the solution to this? Right, because I'm going to deal with the 3 stages of the examination. First, I'm going to talk about prelims for about 10 minutes, then mains for about 10 minutes, and then interview for about 5 minutes, right? What is the solution to this? The solution to this is you stick to one book and you revise that book again and again. I will not give you a book list. I'm not going to tell you when to start studying, when to stop studying. I'm not going to tell you how many hours to study in a day, right? Everyone has his or her own path to success. मेरा जो रास्ता है success का, that is very different from your path to success, will be very different from your path to success, right? I cannot study after 8 in the evening. You may start studying at 9 in the night and wake up, stay up till morning, right? So each and everyone has their own way of studying, their own way of adjusting, their own way of acclimatizing to the examination, right? First and foremost, let us be very clear that the civil services examination is not an examination of selection. It is an examination of elimination, right? क्योंकि जहाँ पे 5 लाख लोग बैठ जाते हैं, where 5 lakh people sit for an examination, to select the top 1000 from there is not a selection actually. It is how you eliminate each and every person at each and every level. The first major elimination is the prelims. From 5 lakhs, you chop off the head of 4,80,000 people in terms of their progress in the examination, you get 20,000, right? How many of you believe that those 20,000 are actually the toppers in their colleges and schools and whatever? How many of you are toppers from your colleges and schools? Let me be very clear. यहाँ पे कोई top किया अपने school में या college में, very good. I'm extremely happy. You've topped school. Okay, good. So you've also topped. So good. So the advantage that these two have is that they come with a confidence कि भाई हम तो toppers हैं भाई, हमारा तो हो ही जाएगा, right? Which is good. Have that confidence, but don't take it for granted. If this examination was an examination of toppers, why wouldn't UPSC go to the 800 odd government colleges under the central government and the state government, pick out 10 toppers from each college and have a competition between them? If this examination was only for the intelligent people, only for the people who are gold medalists and silver medalists, tell you, UPSC is not a fool, UPSC is not a foolish commission that they'll not go to the 800 colleges and select top 10 and have an examination between them. This is an examination of how smart you are. This is an examination of how well you can apply what you know. I know this much, and if I apply this much, I will get selected. If I know this much and I apply this much, I'm not going to get selected. यहाँ पे I'm standing next to a very great person here. Gaurav is also a batchmate. I mean, of course, he was the topper last year when I was in income tax. And has anyone followed his blog, Superman Returns? So it's a wonderful blog. This guy has done some amazing work for you guys. He's got all toppers from all subjects to share their experiences. They've given comprehensive book lists. That's fine. My suggestion is choose a book that you think you can read and revise it again and again. If you think you can do Bipin Chandra for history and not Romila Thapar, pick up Bipin Chandra, but do it at least thrice. Right? Think for yourself. मैं अभी आपको 5 हिस्ट्री के किताबों का नाम दे देता हूँ और मैं बोलता हूँ आप पढ़ना शुरू कीजिए. ठीक है? You'll take 3 months, 4 months to study all the 5 books. Is it possible for all of you to revise all those 5 books? To make short notes from all those 5 books? It wasn't possible for me. ठीक है, I'm going to follow a very engineering perspective. Have 3 checkpoints in your life. When you're taking this examination, have 3 checkpoints. 1, can I read 5 books? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, go to checkbox number 2. Can I reread and revise those 5 books? Checkpoint number 2, yes or no? The answer is yes, come to the third checkpoint. Can I make short notes from all these 5 books and revise? If the answer to all 3 is yes, go ahead, do it. If the answer is no, stop. Do not go ahead. Take 1 book. For example, I think throughout my UPSC preparation, I've studied only 3 books. Okay? And again, I'm not telling you to follow me. My path to success is very different from your path to success. But yahi hai ki I followed only 3 books. I read Bipin Chandra, book number 1. I read, for economics, I studied Mishra and Puri, only selected chapters, which were not there in NCERT. Mishra and Puri I did for economics. And for polity, I did D.D. Basu. Please don't follow D.D. Basu. It's a tough book. It's a tough book only when your concepts of polity initially are clear, then go to D.D. Basu. But these are the 3 books that I did, right? And I revised these books. So the only success mantra that I here can share with you is that revise again and again. ठीक है, क्योंकि एक चीज आपको अभी याद रहेगी, वो 1 हफ्ते याद रहेगी, ये कोई जरूरी नहीं है कि 2 हफ्ते बाद आपको याद रहे. ठीक है. नाउ बहुत बार क्या होता है कि लोग कहते हैं कि प्रीलिम्स का सिलेबस डिफाइंड नहीं है. यू नो, जनरल स्टडीज कह दिया है कि पॉलिटी है, हिस्ट्री है, तो हम क्या करें उसमें? हाउ डू वी डिफाइन दैट सिलेबस? हाउ डू वी पुट अ लिमिट टू दैट सिलेबस? टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, यू डोंट नीड टू पुट अ लिमिट टू प्रीलिम्स. प्रीलिम्स में 100 क्वेश्चन में से ट्रस्ट मी देयर विल बी 15 क्वेश्चंस व्हिच यू कैन डू विद योर कॉमन सेंस आल्सो. With extreme common sense, you can do those questions even if you have not studied. And 15 questions means 30 marks, right? The only thing that hampers you from doing those 15 questions is your cognitive narrowing. In the exam, you feel very conscious. कि भाई ये मुझसे नहीं होगा, ये तो मैंने पढ़ा ही नहीं है, this I haven't studied, what should I do about it, this and that. The second thing you need to keep in mind is that when you're preparing for prelims, always know that you're not supposed to do all 100 questions, right? It is not a CBSE examination where you have to get 100 on 100. It is a competitive examination where your performance is relative to your performance, and if you do better than him, your chances of getting through are more, right? No one is asking you to get a 99.8%. You just have to be above the cutoff. So I'll just share a personal experience. Prelims जो first time मैंने दिया था 2013 में, so out of 100 questions I did 74 questions, which was a good attempt according to me. And I had another friend who did 96 questions. Okay, मुझे यार 96 तुमने किए कैसे? How did you do 96 questions? Because या तो you are preparing for prelims for 10 years and hence you are doing 96 questions. Otherwise you cannot do 96 questions in prelims. Or you've just randomly done Jai Mata Di A, Jai Mata Di B, Ya Allah C, so on and so forth, and you've done that. Vaheguru D. You've done all of that, or you've been preparing for 10 years. And both of us cleared the prelims. कोई अंतर तो था नहीं यार. I did 74, he did 96. Second time I did only 54 questions. 2014, the attempt that I've got a 57th rank, I did only 54 questions. But I was extremely confident about 52. So, you know, you have to develop your own strategy. Take tests. जितना mock test ले पाओगे उतना तुम्हारे strategy में it'll help. Develop a strategy. Develop your own strategy. Again, I'm saying, I am only here to give you inputs. Adapt them to your own means. Take at least 30 tests, prelims के. Mock test take 30. Try doing more number of questions in first 5. See your accuracy. Try doing less number of questions in the next 5, and then start developing your strategy, right? I'm going to discuss about 5 questions here from prelims 2013 and 14, and I know none of you has started preparing like seriously for it, but trust me, these 5 questions from 2013 and 14 you can start doing even today with zero preparation. But what you need is you need a presence of mind. Okay, so we'll start with first prelims 2013, okay, and then we'll go to 14, and these are just basic questions to just boost you up and tell you that look, it's not rocket science. You don't have to be an Albert Einstein to prove E is equal to MC square. This is prelims. UPSC is trying to trick you, trick it back. Tell them that you are smarter than them. एक चीज तो गांठ मान लीजिए, the सरकार needs you guys more than you need the सरकार. Let's be very clear about it. ठीक है? Because आज के दिन में, given the qualification of the students here, if any of you go out there and try to become an entrepreneur, try to make a difference in the health sector or the education sector or for women and child welfare, the government will welcome you with open arms. Because the government itself cannot do everything. Right? So you are more precious to the government than government is precious to you. Always have this in mind. IAS is a means to achieve an end. It is not an end in itself. Any service for that matter. If I am an administrator today, or I am going to be an administrator tomorrow, and let us say 5 of you sitting here come to my district in the coming years and tell me, look, Anunaya, I want to work in, 2 of you tell me I want to do something for education in your district, 2 of you come and tell me I want to do something for health, and 1 of you comes and tells me I want to do something for women and children, right? I will act as a mere facilitator. Implementers will be you guys, right? So always have that in mind, that you are taking this examination and actually because you have a worth, not because the job is so great that everyone is competing for it. So have that temperament first and foremost. That will eliminate about 50% of your stress. Okay, and 50% of the stress will go on. Okay, pick a number between 6, 13 and 20. 6, 13 and 20. Koi number? 13. Okay. So this is prelims 2013 ka question hai. Okay. With reference to the usefulness of byproducts of sugar industry. ठीक है, ये क्वेश्चन आया था शुगर इंडस्ट्री के ऊपर बिकॉज उस समय रंगराजन कमेटी ऑन शुगर इंडस्ट्री डीरेगुलेशन का बहुत एक हुआ था 2013 में, एंड हेंस द क्वेश्चन ऑन sugar industry came. With reference to the usefulness of the byproducts of sugar industry, which of the following statements are correct? Now this is the worst form of questions that comes in the UPSC. They give you 3 statements and then they say 1 only, 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3. A lot of times you know one, you don't know the other 2, and hence what do? The answer is principle of elimination. If UPSC is conducting this exam as a process of elimination, you also use the principle of elimination to get the right answer. Eliminate the answer that you know is wrong. If an answer on the face of it looks correct, it will be correct. UPSC is not that weird that will change very minor things, right? If fundamentally a statement looks correct to you, it will be correct. If a statement looks fundamentally wrong to you, it will be wrong. Just have presence of mind. So I'm going to start again. With reference to the usefulness of the byproducts of sugar industry, which of the following statements are correct? Okay. First is, bagasse can be used as biomass fuel for generation of energy. Bagasse. Bagasse is a byproduct of sugar industry. This they will not give wrong. Whatever byproducts they'll give correct. They'll not say good, which is also a byproduct, by the way. Jaggery is also a byproduct, right? So they'll give you correct byproducts. So it says bagasse can be used as a biomass. What is biomass? General definition, what is biomass? आज ये बताइए, sugar industry का byproduct will be organic or inorganic? Does everyone know what is organic? Organic. Why is it organic? It comes from living organisms, right? So first of all, we need to understand that sugarcane products are going to be organic. Bagasse is a sugarcane byproduct, hence it is an organic compound or an organic mass. Biomass is the energy available or the mass of living matter in dry state. So bagasse can be used as biomass fuel for generation of energy, right? This statement on the face of it looks correct. Hence, it will be correct. Okay? So, it's very simple. You don't have to know about the sugar industry. You don't have to know about, what the byproducts are. If a statement on the face of it looks correct, it will be correct. Principle number 1. Come to 2. Molasses. Molasses are again products of the sugar industry. Molasses can be used as one of the feedstocks for the production of synthetic chemical fertilizers. Now, I'll repeat, molasses can be used as one of the feedstocks for the production of synthetic chemical fertilizers. Is this statement correct? Why is it incorrect?
It's emphasizing on synthetic and chemical, and whereas this is a bio.
Absolutely. Molasses is an organic compound, it is a natural compound. How can it be used as a feedstock in a synthetic fertilizer, a synthetic chemical fertilizer? So this statement on the face of it is wrong, hence it will be wrong. Okay? You don't have to know about it, it's just basic understanding. And the moment you eliminate statement 2, you get your final answer. Three answers eliminate ho jate hain, you get one answer which is the correct answer. Right? So you've got 2 marks in prelims already. It's not difficult, right? Let's take another question and okay, choose a number between 36, 45 and 95. 45. Which of the following, there are 3 subjects in prelims in the UPSC where there is no defined book also. You know, you just have to get your own sources and do it. Can anyone tell me what are the 3 subjects? 1, 2, 3. Those are the 3 topics which people hate. And I hated 2 out of them. I hated science and tech, I hated ecology and environment. Culture I somehow managed, right? But trust me, these are the easiest topics that there are. They're the easiest to score. The questions are extremely direct. Questions are extremely direct, they are not vague. You can easily use the principle of elimination and get your answers. This question is on art and culture. Okay, so it says, which of the following characterizes the people of Indus Valley civilization? Okay. 50% of the people will leave this question because it is ancient India. You would leave this question. I would have left this question as well. I did not know anything about Indus Valley civilization. But I looked at the options and I kind of figured out what the answer would be. Right. So 1, they possessed great palaces and temples. In the Indus Valley civilization, would you ever see great palaces and temples? Would you ever have heard of great palaces and temples? So on the face of it, this statement is wrong, hence it will be wrong. Eliminate it. Okay. Second, they worship both male and female deities. Don't know. Let it be. Okay. Third, they employed horse-drawn chariots in warfare. Were there any wars during Indus Valley civilization? Bhai, us samay to we only knew how to make, bricks and how to, plow fields and all of that. Where would be wars? So eliminate third also. On the face of it, it's wrong. Eliminate. The moment you eliminate 1 and 3, the answer is 2. And hence you've done this question. You don't have to study ancient India. I'm just telling you, even with minimal understanding, even with minimal preparation, you can get the right answer if you're maintaining your calm and equanimity in the exam. Right? So, questions like this are lollipops for you. They're just low-hanging fruits. You just jump and take them. Prelims is all about principle of elimination. Okay? You eliminate the wrong answer, you get the right answer, you get your marks. No one cares if you're 1 mark above the cutoff or you're 100 marks above the cutoff. Rukmini Riya, year senior to Gaurav, rank 2 in 2012. Cleared the prelims cutoff by 1 mark and she's rank 2. Okay? I have a friend who cleared the prelims cutoff by 118 marks and is not on the list. Last year. So last year the cutoff was around 220. He got 330 something out of 400. And he is not on the list. Okay, so these are the things that you need to keep in mind. It doesn't matter whether you've cleared it by 1 mark or 100 marks. You have to just clear the cutoff. Right? And these are the ways you can clear it. You eliminate the wrong answers. Right? With regard CSAT, the basic funda is, how many of you are not confident about maths? Just go, oh, you're not confident, you're not. What's your background? You should be confident about maths, accountancy. But anyway, so what is your background? BA. And what's your background? BSc? BA, both BA, okay. Yeah, maths is as difficult as you make it out to be. Let's be very clear. If something is logically following, it will be correct. In CSAT now, if you think maths is tough, give it some time. Give it some more time. Maybe you will take 3 weeks to complete what he will complete in 1 week. But give it the time. And the best part is you have time at your hand. Most of you are preparing for next year, right? Yeah. So you have a year and a little more, right? And you will have the advantage of having a new pattern change also, जहाँ पे CSAT qualifying हो गया है. So you will know which is tougher, which is simpler, where to work upon, where to not work upon, right? So convert this opportunity into a great success story for you guys. You guys are brilliant, man. I'm sure you guys will do very, very well. But keep in mind certain very small basic things. Give it some time. Or you know, the funny part is I used to despise geography. I did not like geography while preparing for the civil services. But I gave it the attention that it needed, the time that it needed. And trust me, at the end of it, I was very, very good at geography. And in prelims 2013, the first prelims that I took, there were about 16-17 questions in geography and about 16-17 in history, 16-17 polity. My average was about 12-11 correct in the 3 subjects. In geography, I got all correct. Why? Why do you think I got all correct in geography and the other subjects that I was very good at, I did only 11 or 12 correct?
Because you know the weakness and you work on it.
And so how did that help me in the examination?
You made it better by
Okay, 1. 2. What happened in the examination was that I read the questions of geography extremely well. I paid attention to each and every word that was there in the question because I knew that it's not my strong point and I cannot take it for granted. I had to, read each and every. Jahan zarurat padi, I read it twice. I read the question twice, which I didn't. So I used to think I'm very good at economics. So economics, balance of payment, tak, answer. But the question wanted something else, right? So if something is your weakness, give it some time, right? And trust me, you will be rewarded. Okay. Now come to 2014 prelims. Choose a number between 1, 5 and 8. Right, good. Consider the following languages. Okay. The first is Gujarati. Anyone from Gujarat here? Okay. The second is Kannada. Anyone from Karnataka? Okay. Third is Telugu. Anyone from Andhra? You're from Andhra. Okay. So consider the following languages: Gujarati, Kannada and Telugu. Which of the above has been declared as a classical language by the central government? How many of you know there's something called a classical language? You know what is the criteria for defining classical language?
Old.
How old? Okay, it should be old. 1, 2.
I should have a literature.
2, correct. 3.
So yeah.
Okay, good. So the reason why this question came was because Odia had been declared a classical language in 2014. In early part of 2014, Odia had been declared a classical language. So they may not ask you current affairs questions, but they'll ask you GS questions based on current affairs, right? So Odia had been declared. Do you know how many languages are classical languages in India today? How many languages have that status? 8. Anyone else? 6. So 6 languages have the status of a classical language. The 4 Dravidian languages, namely Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam and Kannada. The 4 languages. Odia is the 5th, which has been added, and Sanskrit. Okay. So what happens is most times the status of an official of a classical language that is given comes as a very small news in the newspaper. Somewhere down in the corner where you don't want to read, likha rahega, Odia has been declared as a classical language. It is these pieces of news that become questions in UPSC. They will never ask you about Planning Commission and Niti Aayog. Bhai, everyone has studied that, everyone knows about it. But they'll ask you about the genesis of Planning Commission. Planning Commission aaya kaise? Right? They will not ask you to compare the two. They'll not ask you what are 5-year plans and how are they made. But they'll ask you, was the Mahalanobis strategy or the Soviet planning technique used in India the correct way at the time of independence? Right? So whenever you're reading something, read everything about it. Okay, I know that Odia is a classical language. That's fine. But how do we define what language is a classical language? So it has to be old, as the gentleman there said. Correct. But how old? 1500 years old. At least 1500 years old. It should have a literature of its own. Correct. Agreed. 2, and the third point is, that the literature should be original. It should not be a copied literature. Suppose I am from Bengal, right? And in Bangla I copy the literature from Hindi or from Punjabi or from any other language, then it's not a classical language. A classical language has to have its own literature which is original, right? So these things are important. When you read that Odia has been declared a classical language, first understand Odia comes under the 8th schedule of the constitution as a constitutional language. There are 22 languages mentioned in the constitution as constitutional languages. We do not have a national language. India does not have a national language. So if someone asks you what is your national language, that's your official language. When someone asks you what is your national language, you do not have a national language. You have 22 constitutionally recognized languages in the 8th schedule of the constitution, right? When someone asks you what is your official language, you say it is Hindi. Okay, because that is the status that Hindi has been accorded with under Article 343 and so on and so forth, right? It's Hindi. But the constitution was very flexible. It said that till the lapse of 15 years from the date of enactment of the constitution, that is till 1965, English would continue to be the official language, after which also if the parliament deems appropriate, it will continue. Why do you think this flexibility was given in the constitution? That till 15 years let us have English, and after that also if the parliament deems appropriate, it will be continued. Why do you think there was this flexibility?
Because sir, most of the parts of the country was under the influence of the Britishers, and most of the people had only one common language, and that was English.
Okay.
And at that time, pieces was being compiled by certain Ironman, so communication was very important for us.
Right.
That's why English made there.
Okay, but why not have Hindi right from day one?
That means make a Hindu.
Okay, fair analysis, fair judgment. Hindi was not spoken in all parts of the country. So people from the south of the Vindhyas did not have access to Hindi, right? At the moment you declare a language as an official language, you're actually giving great power in the hands of people who are well versed with that language. Access to power comes from language also. If I speak a language that is an official language, I have a greater edge in terms of employment. Someone from Kerala who does not know Hindi will be actually discriminated against someone who knows Hindi, right? So access to power, easier communication, right? And Hindi not spreading to all parts of the country was some of the reasons why Hindi was not taken from day one as the official language, and hence there was this flexibility in the constitution. So our constitution members actually put their heart, mind and soul in each and every provision of the constitution. And you need to, while you're studying for this examination, you need to know the reasons behind each and every provision, right? When we say India is a mixed economy, what do you mean by that? Have you heard this statement? That India is a mixed economy. We are not a socialist state. We are not a capitalist state. We are a mixed economy. What do you mean by that?
So both the public sector and the private sector are allowed to participate in the economy.
Yeah, that's a great answer. That's a very fair answer. So we understood from day one that the government cannot do everything. From day one, our constitution makers and our tall leaders knew that the government could not do everything. But they also knew that the private sector did not have the power to do everything. And to give such a vast resource base in the hands of the private sector was a rather risky move. And hence, chale hum saath saath. Who said this? Chale hum saath saath. Who said it? अरे बोलो भाई, कोई गलत थोड़ी होगा. Narendra Modi said this. सबके साथ सबका विकास, चले हम साथ साथ. He said on his US trip, and he told this in the White House press conference, चले हम साथ साथ, the India-US thing. So that was the strategy then also, that the Sarkar and the non-Sarkar should move ahead and have a great vision for India, right? And yes, during a particular phase in the 1970s and 80s, the role of the private sector was very constricted, but the private sector has bounced back with great zeal and vigor. And we should be very thankful to the private sector to help us in the growth and development of the country that there is. Another sector that is growing right now is the civil society. You have peer pressure groups, you have pressure groups, you have peer groups, you have non-governmental organizations, you have not-for-profit organizations. The work done by them is tremendous. नरेगा का जो सोशल ऑडिट होता है, सोशल ऑडिट ऑफ नरेगा इज मोस्टली डन बाय दीज एनजीओज, also called social audit institutions or social audit organizations, right? And unless and until social audits are done, we will not know how well that policy is working, right? The RTI, Right to Information Act, was actually an outcome of the national NCPRI, National Something for the People's Right to Information. It's a non-government organization fighting for the rights of people to know what is happening with their money, to know what is happening with their funds, right? So this Gujarati, Kannada and Telugu, classical languages, if you just know the basic thing that if you've read that Odia has been declared a classical language, have this kind of, this inquisitiveness to know what is a classical language and how many classical languages are there. It's very simple. It's not rocket science. Okay, pick a number between 12, 37 and 58. 12. And these are actual prelims questions, so it's not, it's not something which is going to go much beyond this. It will not go beyond this, it will be at this level only. Now, consider the following diseases: diphtheria, chickenpox and smallpox. Everyone has heard of these diseases. Chickenpox to suna hi hoga yaar, smallpox bhi suna hoga, and diphtheria, right? Which of the above diseases has been eradicated in India? Has chickenpox been eradicated in India? It hasn't, because I have relatives who've had chickenpox right now, right? How can it be eradicated? So you cut chickenpox. Smallpox has been eradicated in India? Yes, it has been eradicated in the 1970s and 80s as well. And have you ever heard of a smallpox case in the recent history? So if it's not there, trust me, it won't be there. If you haven't heard of it, trust me, it won't be there. Have you heard of a recent polio case, wild polio case happening? No, right? So it's been, wild polio virus has been eliminated. There is something called a VC, vaccine derived circulating polio virus, VDCP virus, right? Vaccine. So what happens is, when you give someone a polio vaccine, it's a weakened virus that you're giving. What is a vaccination? It's actually a weakened virus that you're giving to the person, so that the person's immune system elicits a response and he develops immunity to it. That's a vaccination. It's a weakened virus, right? Sometimes that weakened virus can actually mutate and become pathogenic, can cause the disease. And because of the mutation, the virus formed is called vaccine-derived circulating poliovirus. So you'll have cases of vaccine-derived circulating poliovirus, but you will not have cases of wild poliovirus, right? So if someone in the recent past has had a polio issue, it's because of the vaccine-derived virus, right? So okay, so chickenpox has not been eradicated. Smallpox has been eradicated. Now you're left with diphtheria. How many of you have heard of diphtheria before? Where have you heard it? Okay. Okay. When we were children, we've had patches here. That's a BCG vaccine. Bacillus, Calmette and Guerin. That vaccine is called BCG. उसके साथ एक और vaccine लगता है DPT. ठीक है? This is common sense. If you've ever been to a government nurse dispensary or something, you'll see a list of vaccinations that you have to give to children, right? उसमें एक होता है BCG, एक होता है DPT. DPT is called diphtheria, pertussis and tetanus. Diphtheria, pertussis and tetanus, and you're still given those viruses to children. If you're still giving viruses to those children, that means it's not been eradicated. And hence the answer is that you cut chickenpox and you get the other two. Right? It's common sense. It's not something, this you can't study in science and tech. You cannot say, okay, I've done everything of anatomy, I've done everything of physiology, now I'll do everything of zoology, then I'll do botany, then I'll do physics, then I'll do quantum mechanics, then I'll do chemistry, organic and inorganic. No, you cannot do it. What you need to do is you need to keep your eyes and ears open, right? And we'll just discuss the last question of the day, and then I'll tell you something about the mains. 58, 64, 66. Right. In addition to fingerprint scanning, which of the following can be used in the biometric identification of a person? Why has this question come? Biometric identification? Aadhaar. So Aadhaar was massive last year. Supreme Court saying it's not essential, some people saying it's unconstitutional, the government saying no, we need it, right? So a direct question on Aadhaar will never come, but a question on biometric identification will come, right? In addition to fingerprint scanning, which of the following can be used in biometric identification of a person, right? Option 1 is iris scanning. It's a 1, 2, 3. Iris scanning. Option 2 is retinal scanning. Option 3 is voice recognition. Okay. Now, is iris scanning a part of biometric identification? You say no. Why do you say no? What is the iris? First tell me, what is the iris?
Iris is in the front.
Right.
And if you are using retina for biometric, then it's more difficult to access. So that's my guess.
The guess being that iris won't be there.
And retina will be there.
Okay, because iris is in the front and hence.
And I know that you're using retina for biometric.
Right.
So I was assuming if iris was available, then.
Right.
That's the
Why do you think iris is there?
I don't have much idea, but I think that iris is something which is unique to each and every individual.
Okay.
I think it is common to all and
Right. Right. Okay. My guess is the answer is all three. And I'll tell you why. It's my guess. I've not checked because UPSC ka bhi, you haven't got the keys. But my guess is the answer is all three and I'll tell you why. You have black eyes, you have brown eyes, you have grey eyes, you have green eyes. All our irises color is different. Our retinal makeup may be the same. We may have the same number of rods and cones at the same position. But our iris color is different, right? And hence iris forms a part of your unique biometric identification. Retina, yes, if someone is colorblind, it will show. Retina is something at the back, it has rods and cones. Rods for dark vision, cones for bright vision, right? Which you will study over the course of time. But that is unique, retina. And voice recognition. Right, so biometric according to me will have all three. Maybe your analysis is correct, we'll have to wait for the key. No, I'm sure. No, but a guess may also be founded on genuine reasons, right? So now that I've discussed about 5-6 questions, I think a basic idea is that you don't have to study everything about everything, right? You need to just be aware of what is happening around you and keep an open mind about things. If you are relaxed during the exam, those 3 hours are nothing but any other 3 hours of your life. The only difference is that those 3 hours you need to have your attention span at a 90% level, right? If you have it there, nothing will stop you from being selected, right? About the mains, the only problem in mains is that a lot of times we tend to do creative writing in answers. So हमें answers पता नहीं होते हैं कुछ questions के. So what we do is we start doing creative writing, right? We write everything under the sun about it. For example, in 2014 mains, which I took right now, there was a question on, well, the question read something like, in modern day urbanization, we have taken inputs of planning and culture from Indus Valley civilization. In modern day urbanization, we've taken inputs of planning and culture from Indus Valley civilization. Explain. The question was something similar to that. Why do you think this question has come?
So obviously there was a planning, so nowadays when we take
No, but what is the smart cities? So first and foremost, you need to be aware that Indus Valley civilization was a modern civilization. And when I say it was a modern civilization, I mean there were grid patterns of cities like Chandigarh. If any of you have been to Chandigarh, there are sectors there, right? So there was a grid pattern of city. There were different widths of roads, 9-meter roads, 6-meter roads, 1.5-meter roads. 9-meter roads were actually main roads. 6-meter roads were alleys. 1.5-meter roads were residential roads, right? There was a great bath where there was no percolation of water. The water was stagnant, right? And the cities were sloping towards the river, which means if there was rainfall, all the water would go into the river and flow off. It was a modern planning city in the Indus Valley civilization, right? Any student of history here who's done history, okay. Let's see what inputs of culture we've taken from modern urbanization. So, in the Indus Valley civilization, one of the most important aspects of the architecture of houses was that the bathroom was on one side and the kitchen was on the other side. And extremely opposite corners. Diagonally opposite, diametrically opposite. If the houses are round, then diametrically. If they were square or rectangular, then diagonally opposite. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that the bathroom and the kitchen were at diagonally or diametrically opposite corners?
We couldn't have access to meals.
One. Any other reason? Why do you want to keep the bathroom away from the kitchen? Hygiene, cleanliness, right? You want the bathroom, which is supposed to be a dirty place, away from the kitchen, which is supposed to be a healthy place, right? From there started the concept of hygiene and cleanliness. From there you kept people from the kitchen away from people who worked in the bathroom. If I worked in the bathroom, I was not allowed entry into the kitchen. If I was working in the kitchen, I would not do anything with the bathroom. And from there started the concept of cleanliness and purity, of class, of castes. So we know that in Indus Valley civilization, you don't have any caste system, you don't have any jati, you don't have any prajati, you don't have any high or low in society. But the idea of high and low came from the Indus Valley civilization. It is this link that you have to make in the mains, in answers. And that caste system we see even today, in a much more complex form, of course. But it started from a basic thing that the bathroom has to be separate from a kitchen. Right? So you need to link things. As you rightly said, that this question came because of the smart cities project. So in this answer, if you mention in the end that whatever inputs we've taken from IVC, Indus Valley civilization, if we use that in today's modern planning and smart cities, it'll be a great success. You'll trust me, you'll get 2 marks extra than someone who's not written this. If you give the example of Chandigarh, if you give this example of diametrically and diagonally opposite places of bathroom and kitchen, it'll get you marks. You just need to make that link. In ethics, which is supposed to be this wild goose chase where you don't know what is correct and where you don't know what is incorrect, trust me, there is nothing incorrect in ethics. There is no answer which is incorrect in ethics as long as it is flowed from an intellectual process, as long as you've thought about it and you're able to justify it. See, we have lawyers, right? We have criminal lawyers who defend people like Ajmal Kasab also, who defend rapists, who defend other terrorists. And they put forth their arguments, right? If their arguments are rational, the court of law is blind to public sentiment, or it should be blind to public sentiment, and it should only look at rational facts, right? So even if you're saying that, well, you know, if an officer is about to retire and he gets his daughter married 2 months before retirement, taking certain benefits, if you can justify it, trust me, you will not get 0. You may not get the highest marks because they might be looking at an ethical temperament, but whatever justification that you do, be very convinced about it, right? Try to give ethically defensible arguments. Don't become an ethical preacher. They don't want Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar as a civil servant. He is very good as a social reformer, right? But give ethically defensible arguments, right? You can defend them. And try to look at things in a holistic manner. So, for example, if I am an administrator and I am told, okay, let me take an example, let me get your responses. Suppose I am the DM of district Tukkapur, okay, and in Tukkapur there is a great need to build a foot over bridge over a river, right? And it's going to be a semi-pakka kind of a structure, and I have to get a tender from people and contractors and all of that. Now my local MLA tells me that I have to give the contract to a particular person who is known to him, right? And I've also learned that this particular person does not have a great track record, so he doesn't do good work. He siphons a lot of money, he gives substandard products and so on and so forth. As a district administrator, what will you do and why? I need 3 different versions, and then I want all of you to think about it. So what will you do and why? Think about it, take 30 seconds and then give me a response. Everyone's understood the question, right? Yeah, okay, start.
I'm considered a man who I think is trustable man, has a good track record. And my project is in same hands and we're using good quality product in building it.
How would you decide who that man is?
This track record.
That's one. That's one. Okay. Any other argument? So you will disregard whatever the MLA is saying?
I will give a thought.
Okay, no, but then you will only do what you think is correct without actually taking his thing into perspective.
Actually, I have to think about that also because
Yeah, because the point is, if you don't think what he is telling you to do, he might impede your project. He might actually not let you complete your project. He might get you transferred. Right? What will you do? Another version, what will you do?
listen to these positive suggestions and try to implement some of those suggestions. Are not compromised.
Okay. But in that, if you have to compromise on your integrity, then?
Not whole lot of individuals should be compromised, but a part of it, if it is compromised in the good term.
How can you, okay. That's a good point. How can you say some integrity can be compromised and not all of integrity can be compromised?
That integrity that is compromised, that is benefiting a lot of people to a large extent. That could be quite beneficial.
Okay, so that's a utilitarian approach. In ethics, we call it a utilitarian approach. Greatest good for the greatest number, right? Irrespective of the fact that मेरा बुरा हो जाए, लेकिन आप 50 का अच्छा हो जाए, तो ठीक है. That's a fair point in ethics. Any other version?
And making clear that he is not a able person to manage.
Who will you make it clear?
And making clear, MLA, I will make clear that this person is not capable to manage.
No, but he is telling you, no, do it, irrespective.
So it is as simple. It is first of all, my first approach would be that to look at the district's, best products, who made it, and bring that person in contact with MLA and pursue him to, give him the time, the given product.
If no, then I will simply, under the pressure, I have to do my job. I will simply allow that person that, okay, whom MLA has just to do his job, but I will strictly check at every point what he is doing. If he is doing at any point anything wrong, I will do my best.
Good, you'll be a good DM. I'm sure you'll be a good DM. Now, I'll take the second part of his answer as a part of my answer also, that there'll be strict monitoring and supervision of the project. But the first part, what I'll do is that I will produce the track record of the person, whatever I have, the official track record to the MLA, and say, look, you are asking me to do this. I don't think I can do this because of these very reasons. Okay. If the MLA insists that you have to do it, otherwise I will not let your project go ahead, I will relent. I will say, okay, let him do it this time. But I will keep a strict monitoring and vigil, wherein I will ensure that substandard products are not put in the project, right? After I kept a constant vigil and monitoring, then also I will make communities, local communities, participative in the process. So what I'll do is I'll ask people to assess whether what work he's done is correct or not, whether it's satisfactory or not, and then release payment. Get it? So at 3 levels I'm doing a check. First I'm telling the MLA, this guy is not the best. Let's not give it to him. But then he's threatening me, okay, I will not let you do it. Then what do I do? Then I move ahead, but I keep a constant monitoring and supervision on that person, right? Even if that fails and I'm not able to do my job well, I involve the local community. And I say कि ये project हो रहा है भाई साहब, ये ऐसा काम करने वाला, आप लोग भी इस पे ध्यान दीजिए. Please take care of this. And then I release payment, right? So as an administrator, you're not just supposed to be ethically supreme, you have to be a manager as well. You have to get projects done as well, right? You cannot be, ethically numero uno with no projects happening. You have to be, there are shades of gray, try to be towards the white, is what I'm saying. And that's what ethics paper is all about. How logical you are, how logically you reason your answers, and be ethical as well. Don't go to the extremes, right? In mains you have essay, which there are 2 essays right now. What is an essay? What do you think is an essay? Why do you think there's this paper on the essay in the mains? You know what is a précis? What is a précis? Of?
A long article or anything.
Okay, so today Prem Shankar Jha writes a long article in the Hindu on India-Russia relations, right? It's about 1,000 words. You write a short version of it in about 100 words. That's a précis. Once you form an opinion on that précis, it becomes an essay. You have a factual information in front of you and you're forming an opinion on it. And you're writing a longer article, 500 words, let's say. That is an essay, right? So the first step to doing well in the essay is to write précis. You have an issue before you, you write 100 words on it. Keep it aside, right? Come back to a week later and form an opinion on it. Tell me, have you been reading about the Greek crisis right now? What is the Greece crisis? What is happening right now? I want someone who's not spoken to tell me. What is the Greece crisis? किन्होंने पढ़ा है यहाँ पे? How many of you have read it? You've read it. Anyone else? You've read it. You've read it. Anyone else? Okay. So what happened in Greece was that it went into a sovereign debt crisis, that it could not pay back money to the people that it had borrowed from. International people that it had borrowed from. So from US, from UK, from European Commercial Bank, from IMF, it could not pay back, right? So they extended a greater loan and said that, okay, we are letting you have more money right now, but put austerity measures in your economy so that there's not much profligate spending, not much excessive unwanted spending. At the same time, repay us our loan after 1 year. Now, look at the irony. I am Greece, I am suffering from a sovereign debt crisis, my growth is actually negative. Okay, my growth is actually negative. You are giving me money and telling me not to spend it. I need money to boost my economy, but you're telling me, okay, take money, but don't spend it. Do you see the irony in the logic? Right? And now Greece, of course, because it has not been able to spend that money in employment, in health, in other areas, it's still at a very bad position, right? And it has refused to repay the debt. It says, I don't care, I have not recovered, and hence I will not pay back the debt. So now Germany, ECB and IMF are being big mothers and saying, you know, we trusted you, we gave you money, you know, you're not giving it back to us, this is shame, shame, and you know, like all of that. But has the world forgotten that Germany in 1953 also did not pay back its debt? After World War II, Germany was a devastated economy. The entire world loaned it some money and Germany refused to pay it in 1953. Has the world forgotten that? So develop an opinion. Is the Greek crisis and the hullabaloo about it justified? If yes, why? If not, why not? Okay. You know, a lot of times India is criticized for having Afghanistan and UK as its strategic partners, both as its strategic partners, right? UK says, bhai, you are being our strategic partner, how can you be strategic partners with Afghanistan, which is a hub of terrorism? Now tell me, is it a good thing that we are strategic partners both in UK and Afghanistan, or should we only align with one center which is economically progressive and, you know, where terrorism is less and so on and so forth? What do you think should be there?
China factor, the one answer, because when it invaded us, no one came to our help, so we have to keep our hands open to as much as we can. This is right now.
Okay, so China plays a role. Okay, that's an answer.
The government needs to follow a dual policy. Dual policy of the government.
Okay.
Like we are aligning with the UK or the US, we at the same time need to align with Pakistan or the Afghanistan.
Right.
Because we have a lot of terrorists and all that issues.
Right.
And there are security issues.
Right. Right. So in international politics, and this is for students who will be taking political science and IR as their optional, or generally in GS paper 2 also, a very famous dictum in international relations and politics is there are no permanent enemies in international relations. Today we may have issues, today India and China may have issues, but tomorrow they might be the best of friends. And why is that? Because Aristotle said nothing is more important than enlightened self-interest. Your interest is supreme. Unless and until you serve your own interest, you cannot serve anyone else's interests. So if we are being strategic partners with Afghanistan, it is because we want peace, stability and tranquility in the neighborhood. And if we're being friends with UK, it's because we want economic progress and growth. What is the harm? You are UK, you are Afghanistan, I'm treating you well and I'm treating you well. Why do you have a problem with me? It's not as if I'm discriminating you for him or him for you, right? So as long as I'm being equal, as long as I'm being fair, as long as I'm being, not equal, if I'm being equitable and fair, what is the harm? Right? So develop opinions. Develop opinions, analyze an issue from great perspectives. And the intellectual capital that you get, the human capital that you get from this analysis will be what will help you in the essay. Right? So there is no other strategy for essay. There is no way of writing an essay. I may write it in paragraph form, you may write it in point form, doesn't matter. As long as the content is there and it's a structured format where you have an introduction, an analysis and a conclusion. It doesn't matter whether you write 3000 words, you write 500 words. As long as both your essays make sense, I will give you both equal marks. Maybe 10 marks less to you because you wrote less, but that's it. 10 marks less. Or maybe 10 marks less to you because I had to read more, right? So so essentially that's for the mains. 5 minutes for the interview and then I'll open the floor for questions if at all. Interview is the most random part of this process. In 25 minutes, you have to get marks on 275. Whereas in other places, you have 3 hours to prove your medal in 250 marks. Hence, it becomes random. Randomness comes on the date of your interview. Randomness comes in your board of the interview. Randomness comes in the sequence of the interview. You may be the last candidate of the afternoon session of the 6th week of the interview, where the interviewers lost all interest in taking the interview, right? That's random. Or you may be the first candidate on the first date and the best board possible, right? So it's very random, but there are a few pointers that you can take for the interview. The first pointer that you should take is that try to be honest in the interview. If you've done something wrong in life and they ask you, have you done something wrong in life? Tell them, yes, you have. Right? Everyone is not going to be, Calpurnia, Caesar's wife. People used to say Caesar's wife should be above suspicion. Right? Everyone is not going to be Mahatma Gandhi. Everyone is not going to be Rabindranath Tagore. Everyone is not going to be Mother Teresa. Right? If you've done something wrong, accept it. Right? If they ask you what is your weakness, suppose a very common question is, what do you think is your weakness in life? What is your weakness in life? So you lack concentration. Okay, I had a friend who said, my weakness in life is that I study too much. Right? Had I been in an interview, I would have told him, get up and get lost. Right? Why are you trying to sell yourself when you're being given an opportunity to be honest about yourself? By agree to the fact that you're short-tempered. Agree to the fact that you lack certain basic skills. Agree to the fact that you can't do everything correct at the right time. We're all human, and human beings are what are required in administration, not superhumans and other great superheroes. Right? Be honest. Second, try to drive the interview in a particular direction. So for example, I'll give you this interview example. So I had Mr. Manbir Singh as my board chairperson this time. So he's a diplomat. He is Sujata Singh's batch. Madam Sujata Singh was the erstwhile foreign secretary. So he's her batch, 76 batch. And a very fine diplomat from what I had heard about him. So he had served in the Russian Federation also. And he was representative of India to the Convention on Chemical Weapons and so on and so forth, right? So, brilliant diplomat. And I thought he was going to be extremely nice to me in the interview, right? But when I entered the interview room, he had mine was on the first day, first session. He was extremely irritated. Extremely irritated. I was the fourth to go in. And I said, sir, may I come in? I sit down. So I sat down. Then he looks at my thing, he's like, oh, you graduated in 2012 and this is 2015. Oh, you've done nothing during this time. And he randomly started, right? And what have you been doing? You've done nothing, this and that. He started. I said, I'm sorry, sir, I have been doing something. And he said, what have you been doing? So I said, sir, I have been getting money for the government as an IRS officer. That was my response. He didn't know that I was in the IRS, right? But I said, sir, I've been getting money for you, money for the government for the past 1 year. And that is where I got an opening. I mentioned I've been getting money for the government as an IRS officer. I knew that he'll pick on IRS and start asking me questions on it. And hence I guided my interview. The moment I said IRS officer, I knew he's going to pick up IRS. Why is there so much corruption? What is MAT? What are FIIs? Why is the law so complex? These were the questions that if you are an IRS officer going for an interview, you will prepare. Right? So as far as possible, if you get an opportunity, guide your interview. Give it an opening. हाँ ये नहीं है कि अगर if the chairperson is asking you something, you say, no sir, wait, let me tell you this. That you don't have to do, but guide your interview if you get an opening, right? And all of you have the requisite amount of talent and skills to do well. Just focus, right? If you want to take a break, take a break. Don't become asocial because of this exam. 2 साल अपने आप को रूम में लॉक करने से अगर कोई IAS ऑफिसर बन जाता है तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, लेकिन वो IAS ऑफिसर बनने के बाद अपने आप को तो DM रूम में भी लॉक कर लेगा, वो तो किसी की मदद करेगा ही नहीं वो. So this exam should not make you asocial, it should make you even more social. Go and talk to people, ask them what their problems are. Bhai, if possible, if any of you is from Chhattisgarh or from South Bihar or from Telangana, go and ask people what are the problems faced due to Naxalism, right? Ask the tribals what their problem is. Don't read what KP Singh is writing or what Jairam Ramesh ji had said in his interview in PIB and all of that. Go to the ground and get it, right? Second-hand information is not going to help you in this exam. Be inquisitive, be social, be happy people. Yaar. You guys are going to work with people who need you. Unless you are not happy doing your work, how will they get satisfaction in getting work done by you? If tomorrow, if someone, a small farmer comes to you and says, "Sahib, मेरे land पे उन लोगों ने electricity का wire लगा दिया है," and you have a glum expression, "हट जा, मुझे नहीं पता, ये मैं नहीं कुछ कर सकता," it's not going to help, right? I might get a state like UP as my cadre. I just might this time. UP is a country in itself. It's a country. Trust me. There should be a United Republic of Uttar Pradesh. Trust me, there should be. Because from Saharanpur to Gorakhpur, sir, कितना distance होगा? Saharanpur से Gorakhpur 600 kilometer? 600. Now, can you imagine 650 kilometers within the same state? If the DM of Saharanpur wants to communicate with the DM of Gorakhpur and send across something, practically it's going to take 14-15 hours. Where is the High Court of UP? Where is it located? Allahabad, right? I am the DM of Saharanpur, right? Something in my district has gone wrong and the appeal has gone to High Court. The person who's aggrieved will have to travel about 350 kilometers away. He will say, I'm not traveling, yaar, अन्याय होने दो मेरे साथ, right? So the need to have smaller states, again I'm going to GS here, I'm building a story and going. The need to have smaller states is always not wrong, right? It depends on 3 factors, 3 major factors. Can anyone randomly guess what are the 3 factors that should be taken into account while creating smaller states?
Population, for governance is very hard when you govern so much, a big amount of population under one man.
Okay.
It's hard.
Okay, population.
Management and mobilization of resources within our
Okay, 2. Then third.
are people getting services on government satisfactory.
Okay, I'll club the 2. When you say the population of UP is very large, I agree, it's very large. And hence, administration, the machinery is not very convenient. It's not working in a very properly oiled manner. And hence, administrative convenience is important in the creation of smaller states. Economic viability of a state is very important. Yes, you've created Jharkhand. Yes, you've taken away all the minerals from Bihar. But give Bihar something that it can do, no? If Bihar only has agriculture, and we all know the pitiable state of agriculture right now, how will it progress? The only way for progress is the government starts slapping taxes on the people. Indirect taxes are said to be regressive in nature. How many of you have heard this statement? Indirect taxes are said to be regressive in nature. Why? What? Can someone explain what that means?
It's the same for the rich and the poor.
Right. So for example, today I am buying this glass, right, from the market. It is 20 rupees and I am slapping a tax, an indirect tax of 5 rupees on this. You are earning 10 lakh rupees per month. You will not mind paying those 5 rupees of tax, right? But if I am earning 100 rupees a day, I am paying 5 rupees of tax. That's about 5% of my income, right? The effect of the indirect tax on the rich and the poor is the same, and hence it's regressive. On the contrary, income tax, the department that I am working in, is progressive in nature. Greater the income, more the tax you pay, right? Therefore, in the 1990s, there was a committee called the Raja Chelia Committee, which said that as economic progress happens in your country, move from indirect taxes to direct taxes. Make the direct tax structure progressive from regressive, and simplify your tax structure, right? So always think about things. Don't just read a particular portion in seclusion. Link it with things. Interact with people. Talk to your family. They are your support base. Talk to friends. Share things with your friends. Don't think that he's your competitor. No one is your competitor. You have to do well in yourself. Share things. Go out, watch a movie sometimes. All of you have internet connection in your rooms. If you're feeling extremely frustrated, go and watch Friends. Go and watch Tutu Meme. Go and watch Sarabhai vs. Sarabhai for half an hour. Go on YouTube, listen to songs. Stick to YouTube. Don't go anywhere else. Right? And do something good. Feel happy that you're taking this exam, because if nothing else, you will be a better informed citizen after the end of a year. And that is important. Right? When I started in 2013, I used to know, well, this much. But today I know this much, and I'm thankful to this examination for it. Right? So be happy, be positive. You've started out your journey. It's going to be a fantastic journey. There are going to be failures, there are going to be successes. Take them both in your stride. Don't take failure here and success here. Take failure here and success here. Right? That is the mantra. Don't take success to your head. Take it to your heart. And failure to your head, channelize it in a positive emotion. Ira Singhal, my batchmate, the topper this time, she got through customs in 2010. She had to fight her case for 3 years to get a seat in customs. Had she given up, she would have never become rank 1. And look at her. She channelized her energy and she gave it all she had. Be positive, be strong. If not you, no one else will become administrators of tomorrow. I'm sure all of you have the capability to do well. Okay? Thank you. And now, if anyone has any question, please, you may ask. Please don't ask me a book list. I do not have a book list. Yeah. So I did electrical engineering. So I did my electrical engineering from IIT Roorkee, and I stuck to it actually throughout my work, throughout my preparation. And I think what worked for me was the fact that I had a level of comfort with the subject. When you spend 4 years with someone, even in a marriage, if you spend 4 years with someone, you get used to it, right? So it was much the same. Although I did not love it, but
When I talk to, I am also engineering.
okay.
When I talk to, they are advising against taking it around.
Cool. Can I share a fact with you? Rank 9, rank 12, rank 20, rank 57. All of us are electrical engineers.
That's good.
Right? And can I also share something? Last year, Roshan Kushwaha, rank 65, had 306 in electrical out of 500. Something that a humanities optional cannot get. Even economics didn't have that high marks. But yes, in electrical engineering, it's binary. Either you do the question correct, you get full. If you do some step wrong, you get 0. So that risk is there, right? Yeah, any more questions? One second, huh?
Yeah, you initially said that one motivation for you was, or one motivation not to work in Singapore was that you were just a programming machine. But won't you be the same when you are as a bureaucrat? Here the machine is even bigger and even heavier.
Right. If I compare the two, the change that I could affect there was much lesser. Right? Here, even if I'm a part of a machinery, but if I'm a well-oiled part, I can affect a change. a much larger change than I could there, right? So again, it was a relative decision that I took. But you know, I want to also share this. So I was a part of the Civil Services Day celebration that happened this year as a part of IRS at GON, right? And there's something called the PM Awards that are given. Prime Minister gives awards to excellence in administration, to DMs, to departments of states, and all of that. There was a scheme of the Chhattisgarh government called the Ladli scheme. Okay, I'm not very sure about the details, but that DM was only implementing a policy of the government, but he implemented it in a unique and new way, right? He is also a cog in the wheel, but a cog in the wheel that makes a difference. That's what made me get back here.
You have more capacity.
You have more capacity, you are a facilitator, right? You can do much more. Even though you are under a state government machinery, the autonomy is really good. And that is why, you know, many people ask me, why is this craze for the IAS? Why the IAS? Why not the IRS? Is IRS bad? No service is bad. The only thing is the amount of change that you can affect in the IAS is unmatched. No other service can do it. Amount of visible change that you can affect is massive in the IAS in the first 10 years. After that, you become a part of the secretariat, you make policies, the implementation of which is not in your hands. But the first 10 years are a fun joy ride. You know, even if you're in a state like, you know, Nagaland, and you're from the north, or you're from the south, you're a complete outsider. But you can do great changes, and you can bring about good changes as well. You had a question? Right, so that's what I said. So give maths more time. You told me you had a little bit of weakness in maths, right? So qualifying of what? Like the CSAT?
Languages.
Oh, no, please, it's very simple. Have you seen the papers? So English is extremely simple. English is extremely simple. It's not going to be difficult. It's not going to be difficult. Hindi can be a little difficult. The Hindi paper is a little tough this time. English is not difficult. I think when you don't feel like studying anything, just do these papers. It will not take you more than a week, actually. It's very simple. It's not difficult at all.
So you are in the IRS training.
Yeah.
And you must have gathered some experience about it.
Yeah.
Did you use those policies in the GSE or GSO papers? Did you make those policies which you learned there?
Right. Well, I joined the IRS in December after my mains exam. So what happened was, last year when the results came in last June, I got a rank of 145 and I was allocated the Indian Revenue Service. I did not join in August, September, and I took, well, most of us who did not get the IS or the service of preference took 4 months of something called exemption, and we took the exam again. So I hadn't joined the IRS. I've only joined the IRS in December after mains. I used a lot of things that we did in IRS for my interview. For my answers, I used them in the interview. Yeah.
So I have now one very basic thing that I feel that in mains, you know, you have a broad approach, but
Yeah.
in prelims you have to catch the facts. Is it a very factual paper, the prelims?
No.
Because the geography is very concise. कि ये कहाँ पे उगता है, कौन से, although NCERT have all the answers, but it's very factual. This is what I feel, and I feel very hard, you know, carry all the facts in my mind at once.
See, you're not supposed to do 100 questions in prelims. If there is a factual question that you're not aware of, leave it. Bhai, you're saving your own time and energy, right? What is the point of banging your head against the wall if you don't know one answer? Bhai, I do not know where lion-tailed macaque is found in India. What do I do with it? Should I bang my head against the wall? I'd rather use that energy and time in some other question, right? So if there are 20 such factual questions, read them. If you can use the principle of elimination, try. If you can't, just let them be. These questions are meant to trap you. Like for example, last year there was a question that while you're going on the roads in the countryside, you see milch animals, you see buffaloes and cows, and you see some birds sitting on buffaloes and cows. Which are those birds? Now, what a ridiculous question. I mean, this question makes absolutely no sense. And hence the moment it was like, so the question was actually like a story. You're going on the roadside, you see buffaloes, you see birds on buffaloes. The moment that question came, I crossed it out, a big cross. भाई करना ही नहीं है जिस क्वेश्चन को, उसको पढ़ने का क्या फायदा यार? right? But there are certain questions in these factual questions also where you can use the principle of elimination.
One last question.
Sure.
Do you need? Do you think that coaching is important, or it is important, or individually take the material, go to home and study on your own?
It depends on what kind of a student you are, na? See, I'm a very teacher-oriented person. I want a teacher to explain things to me. You may not want a teacher to explain things to you. You may be a very self-contained person. That's what I'm saying. The path to success is different for very different people. I wanted coaching and hence I took coaching. But yes, you should do your prelims mock tests for sure. Don't take their marks seriously, but take your strategy very seriously. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't do very well in the prelims mocks, don't worry about it. The main paper is going to be very different from what the mocks are. But improve on your strategy, improve on your time, improve on your accuracy, right? And to that extent, rely on coaching material. That one thing which I would strongly recommend is do mock tests for sure. That's it. And then it depends whether you're a teacher-driven person, whether you're a self-contained person, and all of that. Any more questions? Sorry? Which newspaper do you read? Hindu. Does anyone here read Indian Express? Times of India? All newspapers are good. People say Times of India is a tabloid. It's not. It's an established newspaper. You cannot discredit it like this. It has some wonderful editors. Bachi Karkaria is very good, and M.J. Akbar is very good, and they are very good writers, right? When you read a newspaper, again I'm saying make a précis. If there's an editorial, make a précis. 4 editorial होंगे यार. 4 précis बनाने में कितना टाइम लगता है? 1 घंटा? 1 hour? Give it 1 hour. What Gaurav did was he made an electronic form of newspaper, OneNote. So maybe he can help you. So what essentially you do is you compile the news of that day in a PDF or something, or some software, and then you keep it and you keep on revising it and adding things. So for example, Odia has been declared a classical language, right? That's one piece of news. If another day news comes on what are the criteria for determining a language as a classical language, add it there. It's easier than writing it down and not wasting time, but actually spending more time, right? So newspapers should be given the requisite attention that it needs. Please don't discard newspapers, right? Ethics. Yeah, see, do a lot of case studies if you can. That's the only, where? Online. Online you'll have, I think Vision has great case study material here. I took 2 of their ethics mock tests last time, 423 and 427, that's the code, I remember. And I think it has got wonderful case studies, right? The first part, what is accountability, what is responsibility, what is this, what is that? Yeah, those are dry topics that you can lift off the internet also, right? But case studies, please come and write those case studies within the stipulated period of time and get it evaluated. You know, because what happens is your case study approach may be extremely right, and the marking may not be to the point. Hence discuss, why do you think I got less marks? Or your case study may be extremely wrong and marked correctly. Still discuss, you know, how can I improve? Because that is the only, so those case studies are essentially 15 marks, 20 marks, 30 marks, right? 20 marks. If you end up scoring 11 in your 5 case studies, that's 55 marks out of 120. It's massive. 50 out of 100 actually. Yeah, I didn't use any book. So internet is a great, you know, whenever you see the syllabus of UPSC, ethics, integrity and aptitude, there are topics, right? Just lift it off the internet, come to a teacher in Vision or anywhere else and ask, bhai, you know, I am reading this from the internet. Do you think this is enough? Should I augment it? Should I supplement it? So on and so forth.
Medium play any role in success?
Medium. यार रैंक 13 हमारे हिंदी भाषी तो हैं, निशांत सिंगल, निशांक जैन, हाँ तो हिंदी तो हैं, हिंदी के तो हैं.
There has been a recent trend in GS
GS 2 and 3.
No, GS does the inequality and the economy. The questions are not factual. The questions are actually written of government policies, like planning commission, economy service.
Yeah.
Tackle that.
It comes in newspapers also. See, there's this one question which came in mains which said, backward classes of citizens are not able to do well despite giving them governmental benefits. Why is that? The question was similar to this. Backward classes of citizens are not able to progress despite there being governmental support to them in terms of reservation and so on and so forth, which was not mentioned, but this was the intent. Now, the Hindu carried an article on this. 2-3 months before the mains, the Hindu carried an article saying that backward classes of citizens are not given proper skill development, proper entrepreneurial focus, as a result of which they start, they think that reservation is an end in itself, which it's not. You get reservation so as to improve your own standard, right? So until the government also gives them proper skill, makes them entrepreneurially progressive and powerful, have that prowess, it's not going to work out. And this article was there in the Hindu, right? Similarly, there was this another question in economics, which is actually a long story, that India has the maximum young population, and we have so many good institutes, and the whole story of India being good and all, yet we're not developing. Why? What are we missing? Right? This is skill development. Massive articles came. You're giving primary education, forget the quality. You're giving them good institutes, forget the quality, yet they're not working. There's a clear chasm between what you're teaching and what the industry wants. And until and unless you bridge that gap, that chasm, which is by giving them skill, it's not going to work out. Right? So these are very, very current affairs based topics. They may be government policy oriented, but these articles and topics you can read in the newspaper every day. So it's not rocket science. It's not. Any other question? Okay, so for electrical engineering, I solved 2000. So I took 2014, right? Yeah. 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13. I solved 5 years.
So what were your strategies in geography? Like you said that you...
NCERT पढ़ लो यार काफी है, and revise.
And for the mains section, like GC long and from...
I haven't studied GC long. I have done NCERT, but if there is, sorry, old ones. The new ones are a little more basic than the old ones, I feel. For example, world history. A lot of people say read Indra Arjun Dev, Norman Loy. So there was in 2003 and 2002, class 9th and 10th had an NCERT called The Age of Civilization or The History of Civilization, which got discontinued, right? The world history portion of that NCERT for class 10th is the best. Just do that. It's called Age of Civilization or History of Civilization. World history, it's very nice. Industrial Revolution, period of industrialization, period of freedom of nations in Europe, First World War, period between the First and Second World War, Second World War and Cold War. It's been dealt with very effectively, and that is more than enough for mains. Mains, GS, not the optional. Right? If you have history optional, please go and refer to someone who is more knowledgeable about history. Any more questions? In what?
From NCERT.
If you can remember it, don't make notes. If you can't remember it, make short notes and revise them. See, again, I can't give you a single strategy to success, right? For example, I can read a book and remember it for 3 months. For example, the classical languages status. What are the criteria? I read it 2 years ago, yet I remember it. Maybe I read it and remembered it, maybe I made notes and remembered it. How does it make a difference? Right? So whatever strategy works for you, do that. If you can remember it just by plain reading, do it, but please revise. My earnest request and my only mantra to success is that please revise. At least once, if possible twice. Read one book, but revise it. Questions may come from 3 different books. Suppose there are 10 questions in history. It may come from 3 different books, but if you do one book and do that one book correctly, I'm sure you'll do 7 questions correctly. If you do 3 different books without revision, yet still also you'll do 6 or 7 questions correctly. Right? So don't waste time on many books. Last question, yeah.
What were your strategies regarding the international relations and some topics like disaster management, internal security?
Right. Well, international relations, you need to really brush up your current affairs for international relations, for IR. Well, you have articles, no? Current affairs articles. For example, Prime Minister Modi went on a visit to the US. He went on a Central Asian visit of 5 countries. What is the importance of Central Asia for India? What have been the treaties? What are the Tashkent Declaration? What is the Central Asian University? Why is Central Asia important for us? Energy sources, tackling terrorism, so on and so forth. Prepare from current affairs. With regards disaster management, you know, there is an NCRT on disaster management, right? I have not read it, but just go through it if it helps. Otherwise, you have the NDMA website, National Disaster Management Authority website. Just get the annual report of NDMA. It will have everything, you know, related to that. And what is the third portion that you said? Disaster.
Internal security and cyber security.
So again, MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs. Take their annual report. It will have internal security issues, cyber security issues, so on and so forth. Annual reports of government websites are the best source to study anything. Don't learn facts and figures. Learn the concept. It will be a 500-page document, out of which 390, 400 pages are only facts and figures. Remove them. 100 pages, just read. Right? So it's not going to be difficult. Yeah, so for example, disaster management, it will come under NDMA. Please read. Internal security, home affairs, please read. Science and technology is current affairs again, it's not under any ministry. Sorry, agriculture, maybe just go to the State of Agriculture Report 2012, read. Read as in read, don't cram it. Because the question may or may not come. Right? And then you'll feel, bhai maine to ye bahut padha tha, kyun nahi hua mujhse? So just read, get an idea of things, right? And it's just 200 words that you have to write, right? It's not an essay of 1000 words that you need to write. 200 words, if you have material worth 100 words, you can actually suffix and prefix 20 words and make it 140. Write an introduction and try to be precise in your answers. Don't beat around the bush. If I'm asking about Indus Valley Civilization, impact on modern urbanization, don't tell me what was the year in which Indus Valley Civilization came, what were the places in Indus Valley Civilization, who discovered the Indus Valley Civilization again. Please don't tell me all of that. UPSC examiners know better, they have lesser time. They want to-the-point answers. भूमिका नहीं बांधनी चाहिए. हिंदी में अगर बोलो तो भूमिका मत बांधिए, संक्षेप में लिखिए. Write in precise language.
One last question.
Okay.
Sir, should we write the points or in paragraphs? Like you said,
What way do you like writing?
the points or in paragraphs?
No, what way are you more comfortable with? Then write in both. Write some answers in points. Maybe if there is a 5 marker, write in points. When there's a 10 marker, write in para. But in para also just make points. Like for example, suppose a question comes, which areas of the economy should the government focus on for overall growth and development, right? Start with a paragraph that the state of economy in India is so and so and we are on a growth trajectory, this and that. The following areas of the economy should be focused on. 1, agriculture, bullet 1, bullet 2, bullet 3. 2, employment skill development, bullet 1, bullet 2, bullet 3. Try to make it a mix because the examiner also should not be bored seeing chock-a-block answers. One block of 150 words doesn't really appeal. Break it down into paragraphs, make it down into bullets. Don't use color pens, please. You know, we're no longer in class 10. If you have time, please do. I didn't have time. I actually didn't have time. You know, I have a friend who actually underlined all answers. He's got a rank this time as well. I don't want to take his name because बना दो यार, time है बना दो. Time है तो बना दो यार, कर दो. One answered, I actually made a flow chart. I think it was an economics ka answer or something. Is this happening? Yes, go here. If not happening, go here. I made a flow chart.
do diagrams in geography?
No, I made one diagram. There was earthquake, subduction, so on and so forth. I hate geography, but I made a diagram. Okay.
Idol in your life?
Sorry?
Do you have an idol in your life?
Good question. Should I give you an interview answer? Should I give you a very honest answer? Well, interview answer would be, no, I won't actually. No, I'll tell you an honest answer. So the thing is, I get inspired by certain people. I don't idolize them, because I think everyone has their own, own identity. And if I'm trying to idolize someone, I'm trying to become like that person, and hence undermining my own individuality, right? So I get inspired by people. I get inspired by someone who's honest. I get inspired by someone who's happy. I get inspired by someone who can speak very well. I get inspired by someone who's carefree and travels a lot, but I won't idolize them. I think that undermines my individuality, and that tries to create a replica of that person, and hence undermining his individuality as well. Anything else? Okay, good. Thank you so much, guys, and all the best. I'm sure all of you will do very, very well. I'm going to leave my email address with sir here. If you have any doubts, kind of just pull in all your doubts. If there's a common doubt, then send, because to respond to each and every mail will be a little difficult for me. I'm training, then I'll go to Mussoorie, and it gets a little difficult. But if there is a massive doubt that there is by everyone, like 10 people share the same doubt, please give it to sir, and he'll mail it to me, and I'll get back as soon as possible. Alright? Great. All the best, guys. Take care.